Oh,
This
It's,
conference
nope,
will now be recorded.
You're good, Mayor.
now we're ready. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law, I wish to state that on September the 25th, 2020, the notice of this meeting of the Upper Township Committee was posted on the official Township Bulletin Board, the Upper Township website, the Town Hall foyer, and mailed to the Cape May County Gazette, the Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Sentinel Ledger, and the Herald Times, and filed with the Township Clerk. Tonight's meeting is being audio recorded up until the closed session portion of this meeting and will be available on the Upper Township website. I hereby direct that this announcement be made a part of the minutes of this meeting. Barbara, you have your little flag tonight? There it is. All right, so all rise for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Good night.
of America,
And the republic for which it stands,
and one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and
liberty,
justice
justice for all.
for all. Barbara, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr,
Here.
Mr. Coggins,
Here.
Mr. Corson,
Present.
Mr. Young.
Here.
And Mayor Palumbo.
Here.
All members are present.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes from September 14th, 2020, both regular and closed session minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
Any corrections, deletions, omissions that anyone's aware of? Hearing none. Would you call the roll?
Mr. Barr?
Yeah.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried with all in favor.
Okay. So let's get some reports. Scott, what do you have for us this evening?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and committee members. I'll start out with the customary COVID-19 infection report for Cape May County. Total positive cases of COVID-19 infection in Cape May County is a total as of today's date of 1,342, which includes 92 deaths. Upper Township, we currently have 10 active cases and a total since the beginning of 145 in Upper Township. It's just a reminder as far as the travel into New Jersey and from other states and territories that have a significant community spread of COVID-19. I won't go through all the information, but presently there's 35 states and territories that meet the criteria. And you can find out that information if you have to travel or if you're coming back from another state as to whether or not you must quarantine for 14 days. That can be found on the New Jersey Department of Health website at covid19.nj.gov or on our township website at uppertownship.com, along with a plethora of other information with respect to COVID-19. Mayor, did you have anything regarding?
I actually do. I received a copy of a letter that was sent out to parents today, September 28th, dated September 28th, and it's from the Upper Township School District. And unfortunately, we've had two cases, two individuals from the primary school that tested positive. And based on this letter, it appears that the primary school is going virtual starting tomorrow through Tuesday, October 13th. So that it's just the primary school. It says PK classes, which I guess is pre-kindergarten. They're canceled and will resume on October the 13th. Unfortunately, our school district, at least in one of the schools, has experienced, unfortunately, two children that have tested positive, or I'm not sure. It doesn't say children, it says two individuals. So, I shouldn't say that. It could be teachers, it could be staff members, it could be anybody. So, but two individuals tested positive. And because of that, the primary school is going virtual until October the 13th. So we'll stay on top of that. And if we can be of any assistance with the school system, we certainly will. And hopefully the other two schools, the K through 2 or the middle school won't have any ill effect, but more to come on that. We'll follow that.
Thank you, Mayor. I have one request from committee. This is through our Human Resources Department and Sharon Taggart. She has the opportunity to take a virtual conference for what they refer to as an HR Specialist Summit, October 21st and 22nd. And the early bird cost on that is $549 for the 2 days. It's normally $397 for 1 day. So I would like to request on her behalf that committee take consideration toward her attending this virtual conference.
And it'll be related to, municipal employees and people that are affected by civil service? Is that going to be
Yes,
included in that?
Well, there's a number of different topics. One, for instance, is HR compliance in the COVID world, employee leave, how to successfully manage difficult situations, terminations, how to legally manage employee comings and goings, wage and hour compliance, 2020 and beyond. So there's several like breakout sessions with a plethora of information that she'll be gaining through this course.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Or second? I'll second. All right. Is there any further discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank you, committee. And one more piece of information I wanted to pass along to the KID committee and mayor this evening. I received information from the New Jersey State Police Woodbine Barracks that the commander, Lieutenant Bill Henry, will be retiring effective October 1st. So I wanted to be the first to take the opportunity to congratulate Lieutenant Henry. I think over the last several years, he's made a definite commitment to Upper Township, provided us a lot of assistance here in the township and throughout the township on a lot of law enforcement actions and assistance that he's provided, one, emergency management and all of our emergency resources and also the administration as well. So I wish him well, and to his successor, I hope we develop a great working relationship as good as what I had with Lieutenant Henry.
Well, sorry to see him go. He's been a great asset to us, but I'm sure, his next person that follows him will be amicable and working with us as well. So.
Very good. And that's all I have this evening.
Okay. Barbara, do you have anything for us this evening?
I do. I have a couple of things. Good evening, everyone. The first thing is I'd like to request permission for 14 township employees to attend the New Jersey League of Municipalities Conference on November 16th through the 20th. And this will be a virtual conference. In order to get the early bird rate, we will need to register before October 16th. So the early bird rate is $55 for township employees. So that'll be for 14 employees.
They get their continuing education or the credits that are required for their certification? So.
Yes, for their particular certifications, they can attend certain classes that are, pertain to their certification.
Would someone like to make a motion to approve to send to allow our employees virtually to attend some of these meetings?
Motion to approve.
Second. Yeah, Curtis and Hobie.
And Hobie, okay. Okay, all right. Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
and Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried with all in favor. Thank you. Everyone thanks you for that. And the next thing I have is I'm happy to report that the secure drop box for the ballots has been delivered to Town Hall. So if you have not already received your ballot, you can look for that in the mail. They are being mailed out. The county clerk's office, County Board of Elections, has been mailing the ballots out. So all registered voters can expect to receive a ballot by October 12th. If you don't get your ballot by October 12th, then please reach out to either the county election officials or to my office, and we'll point you in the right direction. So when you get your ballot, you can vote your ballot. You can either place it in the mail in the self-addressed stamped envelope, bring it to Town Hall, put it in the secure drop box, take it to the Board of Elections office, or you can take it to your polling location. And if you have any other questions, feel free to call my office and be happy to assist you with that, with anything you have there.
So I would like to make everybody aware. I received my ballot today and everything was fine, but and so did my wife. But we have become aware of at least one case where a Middle Township ballot was mailed to an Upper Township resident. So in the event that happens, we need to first, we'll address it right now, that they need to contact the county clerk's office to have that corrected. But I also think that it's important that we post on our website that in the event you get a ballot that doesn't appear to be, of local, to Upper Township, that you certainly should reach out either to your office or to the county clerk's office to, have it rectified.
Yes,
Again,
it should be
it's one
reviewed.
isolated incident at this point, but we're not sure if there's other potential folks out there that have experienced the same thing. So.
Yes, and we do have a link on our township website to Cape May County Votes, where all that information is posted and where you can find all that information. So, if you go there, just follow that link and you can get that information there. If you do go to the polls.
I think what I'd like to have more something like, all residents, so that they have the opportunity to vote. I mean, just to at least, open their envelope when they get it. I mean, because one of the things that worries me is that someone would like to vote, and then when they realize that they have the wrong ballot, if they don't open it till, say election day or right before it or whatever the date, that, they're going to find themselves being forced to do a provisionary or something like that. So.
Well, that's true. If you do not get a ballot and you go to the polls on election day, then you would be voting a provisional ballot. If you do get a ballot and you still want to go to the polls, you can take your ballot after you voted it to the polling location.
The problem with that, Barbara, is they will handle it as a provisional ballot at that point, and it'll be up to 2 weeks after the election our vote is counted.
Yeah.
It is going to take some time to count all the votes, so everybody will just have to have a little patience with that.
I think we should encourage people to turn them in early and not take them to the polling place. That's just my opinion.
Well, we would like everyone to vote their ballot and to vote it early if possible, just to make it a little, little
Yeah,
easier.
and also there's constitutional questions on the back of the ballot. And so in other words, it's a two-sided ballot, and people should be aware of that the candidates, both the, national, county, state, and local, are on the front page, as well as the school board. On the back page, there's constitutional questions. So I could see people just doing the ballot, sending it in, and not realizing that the back has constitutional questions on it.
Right, be sure to read everything because there are, certain sections that you have to sign and, just make sure you look everything over good before you submit it. So that's all I have this evening, sir. If anyone has questions, feel free to call my office. I'm happy to help you.
Okay, thank you. Paul?
Thank you, Mayor. One thing I wanted to let the public and the committee know, we did have a meeting last week with Atlantic City Electric and representatives from some of their contractors. As you know, for about the last year, they've been working on replacing the transmission line that goes across the Great Egg Harbor Bay from BL England station across over towards Summers Point. Well, they're almost completed the towers, and now they're going to start stringing the cables from one side to the other. And they're going to be using the BL England side, BC Point side, to start that, and they'll be doing that with helicopters. So for about a 2-week period, you'll see a little more helicopter activity, picking up cable and rope lines and picking up the transmission workers so that they can lift them up onto the towers and string the cables. So that'll be about a 2-week period. Obviously, depending on weather, should be starting about this first or second full week in October.
Okay,
And that's all I had for this evening.
thank you. Barbara Ludi?
Evening, I have nothing to report tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Committeeman Coggins?
I just want to report that I did receive my ballot today, and I will be depositing my ballot in the secure box at the municipal building. I think that's probably the best way for me to ensure that my vote is going to get counted and counted early.
Yep. Thank you. Committeeman Young?
Good evening, everyone. I've received mine today also, and I'll be following John's lead on that. The other thing I have, we had discussed about Halloween, whether we were going to have it or whether we weren't. I haven't had any updates from the governor, and I don't know if anybody else has seen anything or not.
I haven't seen any, well, right now we have kind of conflicting, issues. So the CDC
Right.
is kind of saying it's not a good idea. The governor, from what I understand, came out earlier with a statement that said that he would leave it up to the municipalities. I was going to report that I've actually had some discussions with, and Scott has been involved as well, with Ocean City and Mayor Gillian. We're going to try and do it together if we decide to have it, or we also will not have it if we decide to cancel, partly because if one town cancels and the other doesn't, then obviously the town that doesn't cancel will have everybody over here and vice versa.
Mhm.
The other issue that we're discussing is maybe we can make it earlier since Halloween's on a Saturday, maybe do it like, 3 to 5 or, whatever, whatever time makes sense, so that it'll be more in the daylight hours where, people could actually be outside, and kind of make sure it's done safely. I'm a little hesitant because I think, masks have to be involved, potentially gloves have to be involved. And I'm not even so sure that parents, will want their kids to be out. It's kind of like you're trying to balance. I know all the kids like Halloween for the most part. And, it is something that I'd like to see us have. But I want to make sure that it's done in a safe manner. And so, that is something that I hope to work with everybody in the next, week or two. I mean, we're coming up to October, and I think a decision has to be made, at least by the next meeting, and hopefully sooner. And we'll have some idea. Now, obviously, the other issue is it's subject to change. If there's a major spike and it looks like it's not a good idea, then we could say yes, it's on, and then all of a sudden it's off.
Right.
So it's just rather than make a decision at this point, I feel comfortable working with Ocean City and Mayor Gillian and coming up with some decision I think that everybody will be, comfortable with. And again, with the emphasis on safety more than anything. And he is absolutely in the same, position that I am. So.
Yeah, and I agree. If we do it, I think it should be earlier. The only issue we may have is with some of the recreation programs. If we go early, their games are running all day on Saturday. So within the next 2 weeks, we should probably have a decision then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And like I say, if we do go it, I am potentially more leaning towards more daylight hour, because typically we have it 5 to 8. Is that correct, Barbara? 5 to 8.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, it is.
And I was thinking more, maybe 3's too early, but 4 to 6 or something, like, maybe condense it to 2 hours so it's not extended, and you don't have like stragglers coming in. So in any event, I'll make sure everybody stays in the loop, but as we have further discussions. So.
Okay. And the only other question I had, Rich, is I was starting to get questions as far as community center for pickleball, potential for wrestling, and other items that want to go into there. I told him that everything is still tentative with the governor. He hasn't raised any of the limits yet. And we also went over limitations that if it does happen, that they're probably going to have to look at. But I didn't know if anybody heard anything, from the governor on that issue or not.
Well, it's still at 25% capacity. I at this point, I'm not so sure that wrestling, meets that criteria.
Right.
I mean, pickleball might be something that can be done if it's monitored and, there's not a significant amount of people that are standing around. But again, it really puts some pressure on our, cleaning and service to sanitize. So, because if we use the facility inside, then we're going to have to daily clean it and use the
Right.
fogger and do all those kind of things. So, I realize that everybody's trying to exercise, but what I've seen, the gym that I belong to, I mean, it really is a slow start, and people are very hesitant to even get involved with going out into any, closed setting at this point. So, I'm open to discussion on it, but let's see what it's going to entail from the county health and CDC and all that, which we can work with Scott and talk a little bit about.
Yeah,
Right.
and I agree with that 100%. And I reiterate to of all the programs, it is whatever we do is tentative, and it'll be done on a minimum basis. Will probably only be dual meets, no tri or quad meets, to limit the number of people that can be in the building and so on. So they asked, I think, just let them know that we're working on it and that it's public
Yeah, I
and
mean,
everybody knows that we are.
yeah, I would be hesitant to commit yes at this point, especially with the
Right.
25% capacity.
Yeah,
And
and
everything.
I agree. I agree. Other than that, that's all I have. Everybody stay healthy. All of our programs are running well. We've had no issues. And football, baseball, and soccer are running pretty smooth right now. Let's hope it stays that way.
Agreed. Deputy Mayor Barr.
Scott, where do we stand as far as the brush pickup?
The 22nd, we started our second round. I know we had a few minor issues with some equipment. Craig, are you on right now?
Yeah, I'm here, Scott.
Yeah, if you could elaborate a little further on Committeeman Barr's more specifics regarding where we are.
Yeah, we started the second round, which is going really quick. We started down at the south end at Luke Court, working north up close to the tavern, pretty much in one day. Second crew is up in Beasley's Point, working south. Both crews moved good speed based on the fact that we got a lot on the first pass. So we're still working on it.
And I would reiterate that, like I did the last meeting, that if you missed it the first time around with your brush, just be patient as a resident, and we will get to any of the other brush piles that have been left out there that we haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah, and Corsa Tavern Road looks good, Paul. Is that the final coat that's on there?
Yeah, that's the final coat that's on there. They finished that up last week. Obviously, they have some, punch list work, driveways, and some, touch-up work to do on this off the road. But that is the final course of paving, and I'm sure everybody's happy that it's done. But now the speeds are going to be up, so we'll probably want to reach out to this Woodbine Barracks to see if we can get some patrols out there, because they're going to be moving along that new pavement pretty good.
Absolutely. Any word on Newbridge yet?
I asked county engineer for an update, but I did not receive an update. The last I knew, as I said before, was they were waiting on some easements to start the construction, but they were hoping to be able to get it out this fall, for whether they could do it this fall or do it in early spring.
Okay. Well, keep up the good work there, Craig, with the cleanup. Everything looks good. I get a lot of compliments throughout the township, and as usual, our people are doing a good job. That's all I got, Mayor.
Okay, Committeeman Corson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we were talking here this evening and you were giving your report, I actually received a text from somebody who lives on Sleepy Hollow Road, and they are now in the possession of a ballot from Middle Township. So that's two that we know of. So we need to be careful. People need to pay attention. And that's all I have at this time.
And Kurt, I can add to that one. Matter of fact, my son-in-law, who lives in Upper Township, his address is now Corbin City, and he received his address, and his polling place is going to be in Dennis Township. So it's this one's a mess. So I told him, just go right down to the county clerk's office and get it straightened out.
Correct, yeah.
I mean, there's going to be hiccups here, so you just gotta urge everybody to look at their paperwork and make sure everything's right.
Yeah, and it's really
Yes.
important because, some folks figure, well, it's not really until November 3rd, and they may not even look at it. And what worries me is that if other people have other issues, they may find themselves opening it up and realizing that, they're not going to be able to send this ballot in, and probably too late for getting a new ballot. So then they would be forced to do provisional. So, I think it's important that we get the message out for anybody that, or everybody in the township that should take advantage of the right to vote, so.
Right.
Okay, so I have nothing further either. I've been chiming in what I had written down as we were going along. So Barbara, let's go to the resolutions.
Okay. All right. Item number 1, congratulating employee Tara Mathers of the Upper Township Municipal Court for her winning entry in the Upper Township Safety Award Program for the 3rd quarter of 2020.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. 2, rejecting all bids received for the design build post frame buildings project.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 3, appointing Paul E. Dietrich to act as a substitute zoning officer for the Township of Upper regarding matters in which the regular township zoning official may have a conflict of interest.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 4, appointing members to the Upper Township Parking Committee.
Motion to
Move the
appoint.
resolution.
Okay,
Second.
and Before we vote, well, we can vote and then I'll just explain who are the members of the committee and what their task will be.
Okay. Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion
And
is
so
carried.
just for the public edification, the members of the Upper Township Parking Committee will be, there'll be two committee members, Committeeman Kurt Corson and Deputy Mayor Ed Barr. Kurt's in charge of public safety and Ed Barr is in charge of public works. We're having our administrator, Scott Morgan, on the committee, our engineer, Paul Dietrich, our supervisor or superintendent of public works, Craig Reeves. We're having the chief of the Strathmere Fire Company, Bruce Riordan, on there from a safety standpoint. And then also Strathmere resident David Cummings for his input into the committee. And so this parking committee task will be to work with the township parking consultant, which we are in the process of taking care of in reviewing circulation of traffic, parking, no parking zones, and more importantly, the enforcement of the outcome. We want to identify the parking spaces and the proper, no parking zones, and then certainly address the enforcement of that and how that's going to be determined. And then another task, although it's not part of the resolution, I perceive this group also looking kind of in parallel with, does it make sense to also include something like beach tags or something like that to help reduce the traffic flow. So it's an important committee, and I'm happy the way it's arranged. We have, I believe it's 7 members, so that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 members. Yes, so that in the event of a tie, or if a consensus can't be obtained, that that there's certainly an odd vote to come to a conclusion. So, and then what I expect is that we get some reports, from this parking committee. I did read, I don't know if anybody saw what Paul sent out to us, the proposed contract, and the amount of meetings and those kind of things are already put into our parking consultants contract criteria. So, I'm sure we'll have some more discussion on that as well. So that's just to update everybody, who's on the committee, and I really appreciate those that will serve. I think it's really important. And the good news is that we're addressing it early enough so that we can have this addressed before the start of summer next year. So.
Good. Go ahead. Go ahead. Item
No,
number 5. Certification of costs. Certification of costs for abatement of nuisance on block 455, lot 16.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. All in favor? Okay, under ordinances, item number 6. This is the introduction and first reading of ordinance number 8, 2020, and ordinance amending revised general ordinance, chapter 8, streets, sidewalks, and sanitation, chapter 13, I'm sorry, streets, sidewalks, and sanitation of the Code of Upper Township to amend section 13.1, street excavations. And if we move forward with this, if we can have the adoption on October 26, 2020, that would work well.
Is there a motion to introduce?
Motion to introduce ordinance number 8, 2020. And what was that date again, Barb?
October 26, 10/26.
We're at public hearing of October 26th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 7, this again is the introduction and first reading of ordinance number 9, 2020, an ordinance amending revised general ordinance, chapter 13, streets, sidewalks, and sanitation of the Code of Upper Township to grant consent and permission to Ocean Wind LLC to install electrical cable systems and conduit in Upper Township. And this adoption date would also be October 26.
Move we introduce ordinance number 9 of 2020 with an October 26th hearing date.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes. Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried with all in favor. Item number 8, bid results for the vehicle pressure wash system replacement project. Miss Ludi has some information for us on this.
I do. We received bids last week on the 22nd, last Tuesday. We had one bid. We had 2 vendors that took the specifications. We had one bid. I am recommending that we go with this bid. This vendor had actually gone out prior to our bid and took a look at our system and gave us a quote. However, because of the price of it, we had to bid. We have the budget, we have the funds for this, and he is recommending an additional option that we could use funds through Clean Communities for. So if you are so inclined, my recommendation is to go forward with this.
Make
So
a
we
motion
only
to
had
accept
one
the
bidder,
bid.
right, Barb?
That's correct.
And what happened with the other 2? Didn't you say there were 2 other ones?
There were two that took out the specs. I don't know why the other one did not bid.
Never submitted. Okay.
That's correct.
Barb, the second option on that was what?
That was for an automatic treatment system.
Okay.
Toby, that would allow for a more automated system where it doesn't require, the chemicals and the different feeds.
Yeah, right.
It kind of does it at a more automated function and doesn't require as much daily attention from the public works.
I think it makes sense. If we're going to do it, let's do it right.
If there's a motion to proceed with a resolution accepting the bid, you should include that, whoever makes the motion, if that's what you want.
I'll make a motion that we accept the bid with the addition of the upgrading the system for chemicals and all that. So,
Automatic treatment.
yeah, automatic treatment. Thank you.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. We'll have a resolution on the next meeting for this. Item number 9, Upper Township Planning Board Resolution number 4, 2020, adoption of municipal self-assessment.
Paul, do you want to give us a little summary? I know that this is something that the planning board and even the township committee has worked on as far back as February 2007. We've had some updates on it. We've done the reports that we had to do. We met with the state agencies in 2019. I know that the committee needs to adopt a resolution to forward to the state to review the formal process, but can you kind of put it in lay terms what we're looking at here?
Sure. Plan endorsement is a process where just like the planning board does a master plan and planning for our local ordinances, the state has a planning process globally for the state, and it's a way for the the township to interact with the state on, how, the state's vision where for the different towns are. And, the state, we look at different planning areas and different town center areas. And within each of those different areas, depending on their designation, depends on the type of development or intensity of development that can be put there depending on its level. This was something that was very crucial, that we actually started this back in 2005 and went through the process. Initially, we were actually one of the first, I think we were number 4 for plan endorsement.
Oh, we missed what you just said. Like, can go back like.
Paul, when you were saying we were one of the first to get plan endorsement, that you cut out.
Yeah.
Okay, we were one of the first municipalities in the state under this plan endorsement process to receive this plan endorsement. So, just like our master plans, you have to update them every 10 years. We're at the renewal period time where we need to kind of coordinate with the state and update, how the state and the township reflect on our planning areas. We did a lot of work back in the planning board did and township committee to develop town center areas and planning areas that coordinated very well with the state agency's goals for how development should proceed. Making sure development was guided towards areas that were ready for development and kind of keeping them outside of what they call the environs. Areas that would be sensitive to development, wetland areas. So that's kind of how you see our development. When we met back in last year, we went through a lot of hey, this is what the state's looking for, and a lot of what they're looking for the towns to start really guiding towards is sustainability and resiliency, and meaning a lot, obviously after Superstorm Sandy, the heightened awareness of flooding is a large concern with the state, that if a town is going to develop, they want to make sure that towns are developing not where they can be impacted by flooding and severe storms and future sea level rise concerns, but develop in those more appropriate areas. So that was where we, the planning board looked at a lot of the different areas that the state said, hey, can we pull these areas outside of our existing planning area and town centers? We went through several negotiations. For the most part, the areas that we felt were very important, the state has initially said, yeah, we can put those back in there, but there's always going to be those little areas along I'll say the fringe of our planning areas that are already wetlands, are already not really developable, that are going to be kind of taken out from the planning area. So the process now is, after the planning board has made a recommendation, is to have township committee make a resolution to forward this up to the state. We did, the planning board prepared what's called a municipal self-assessment to kind of goes through a lot of the plan endorsement items and kind of gives us our benchmark of where we were back in 2007, where we've made progress, what do we want to look for in the future. And, now the township's resolution would be the formal start of that process with the state. So as kind of what I told the planning board earlier this month, this is, where we've started some initial discussions. Your resolution up to the state and sending it up to the state starts the formal review process and negotiation process to make sure that we can maintain our areas, that we can look for future development and have a good plan for the township. The one thing that they were concerned about, plan endorsement really is key on having a visioning process. And if you recall, Mayor, we did a very extensive visioning process when we did plan endorsement before. At the middle school, we had tables all set up with big white pieces of paper, and everybody was drawing with different colors and talking about, what should go where and everything like that. And that's kind of how we developed the framework for our town center guidelines. I think since 2007, we've done a lot of work, as you discussed, on developing those guidelines and making sure that the development of our town centers, especially Marmora, is guided in a proper way of how the residents of Upper Township want it to be developed in the future. And, the planning board did make had a discussion about that and felt that we've been discussing this, and, the town center vision is kind of where the same vision that we want to move forward with. This would be an appropriate time to make sure that Township Committee agrees that, hey, the vision that we've set up through plan endorsement and our land use plan, our master plan reexamination, and our all those other planning documents is still the vision for our town centers. If you don't feel that this is still our vision, then it'd be appropriate to send it back to the planning board and say, hey, let's do some more visioning and outreach to come up and come up with a different direction, or fine tune the town centers. I feel we've gone over this, and this is kind of the direction we've been going on, and building upon. But it's really the planning board and your decision of, is this the right direction that we want to move forward with? And given that, that's where we're at, and where we need to move forward from.
Just to put it in layman's terms, Paul, without center designation, we probably wouldn't be able to approve or have built something like the ShopRite, correct?
Yeah, the ShopRite was, that was the key reason why we pushed for plan endorsement critically. Without us going through plan endorsement, we would not have had ShopRite. That would not have been, the development potential in Upper Township essentially would have dropped to, instead of 70% impervious coverage, that's kind of what ShopRite is, you would have been down at probably less than 50%, maybe closer to 40% impervious coverage. So, instead of ShopRite, you would have had, maybe the strip mall section that's on the side where Mamma Mia's and Heist Insurance is, and some of the outbuildings. You would not have had that larger center there. And without it, you're not going to see development of, a town center of any magnitude. You're going to get small scale, smaller projects, and not a larger cohesive project.
And this plan that we have now, just to clarify for the Township Committee, is essentially the same plan that we have in effect, with minor map changes on the fringes of each of the center districts.
That is correct.
It also has a designation of, I'll leave you for the terminology, but the BL England property is also designated properly under the state plan, correct?
Yeah, that area did change. That's probably, I'll say, the one mapping area where before it was in the town center. Now they've kind of pulled the town center back a little bit more tighter, closer to, I'll say, the Memorial Town, true town center, what it is for the zoning district. But they've agreed to list the Beasley's Point area as a essentially a redevelopment node, and that's kind of what they call it, as a node. And under the state terminology, it's essentially an area that's set up for redevelopment, which obviously the committee adopted a resolution last meeting to forward a recommendation, to have the planning board look at that area for an area in need of redevelopment. So the state is kind of looking towards that area in the same fashion as you are.
Okay, so what do you need from us? A motion to develop a resolution to send to the state? Is that what we're looking for tonight?
Yes, unless there are any questions, that's what we need. That's our next step.
Okay, so would someone like to make that motion?
I have one quick question. Would that piece or the BL would have been better off left in the town center, or?
No, actually, I believe when you look at development potential service, it's the same. I'll say from a state development standpoint, it's the same impervious coverage. It just under the state guidance, under how they classify it, it's because it's an area that we need as redevelopment and looking for redevelopment. The terminology of a node is more appropriately classifying that area as such. So I think it'll work better for the township, it being a node, as we would move and have a redeveloper or a developer come to do something there when they try to go get state permits. I think it'll be more a better designation.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there any other questions of Paul? And then if not, I'll entertain a motion to make a motion for a resolution for next meeting.
Motion to draft resolution for next meeting?
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. All in favor. Item number 9, Anthony Jackson requests for a speed hump on Stagecoach Road in the vicinity of 1526 Stagecoach Road.
Oh, you
Is that
sent
on
us
our
out.
township portion, Paul?
Yeah, that is the
Yes.
Upper Township portion. The Upper Township portion is from Hope Corson Road as you would head south towards southeast towards Route 9. So that section is all the municipal section of Stagecoach Road.
Did we do any speed studies in there?
We didn't do any speed studies, but given some of our other criteria, a speed study is really important when we have, I'll say, a smaller cul-de-sac street. This street, because it's a natural through street and it gets a lot of through traffic, I think it leads itself to warranting a speed hump. But we can definitely set up for a speed study just to look at what the numbers are. But purely from a through traffic perspective, I think you could look at it as being appropriate for this.
Yeah.
Have we talked to any of the neighbors beyond Mr. Jackson's request? So,
Rich, I've heard some complaints from some of the neighbors, and it seems to be once they come around that curve in the straightaway, and they're just they're going for it down that straight stretch down to Route 9. So I think it's definitely warranted there.
Paul, there's a few thousand
I
feet,
think it would-
couple thousand feet of straight linear roadway there, right?
But then again, you have houses on one side, and my experience has always been until you do some type of a speed survey in there, you're not going to make an educated decision. A lot of people always feel that somebody's speeding, and I mean, Paul, as before, I mean, to part of our criteria should be we should conduct a speed survey and see if it does match up to what people's observations are. I mean, what's the cost of this?
There is no cost. I mean, we have the equipment. It's just, I can put it out there. Usually takes I like to have it out there for a week or 2 weeks to get a good feel for what the traffic is. And I can set that out there. And I don't think I'd have it for the next township committee meeting, but definitely for the second meeting in October, I can, have a report to supplement for what the speed report is.
Paul, while we're discussing speed bumps, I also had a request from Francis Drive. So if you would take a look at that one also.
I did already looked at Francis Drive. One of the people on Francis Drive had contacted me when we did the speed study there. It's a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. I'll say the 85th percentile speed, meaning when I measured all the cars traveling down back and forth on that road over a week period of time, 85% of the cars were going probably about 31 miles an hour when you do the speed. So I think that's what Ed was saying, that when you really look at the
Right.
speed report, on a little local road like that, a speed of 31, nobody's really going to be questioning. I think all of us would admit that on a small cul-de-sac street like that, you're probably going to be doing 31, down that street, and that's what you're going to be most likely driving at.
Okay.
If you see speeds when you start hitting 38, 40, where you're 10 miles over the posted speed limit, that's actually where, then you start looking at, okay, then that's when a speed warrant would do.
That's fine.
So,
Thanks.
so then we can, rather than vote on this evening, obviously we're going to do some additional traffic studies. So I would suggest, Barbara, maybe you can send an email or something out to Anthony Jackson saying that no decision has been made at this point. It'll be put to unfinished business, and and it's pending. It'll be pending until such time as Paul can develop the, I guess, the speed traffic study that you're gonna put together, right? Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Uh,
Everybody
does-
comfortable with that?
Would
Yes.
the committee like
Sounds
us?
like a plan.
Would the committee like us to send out notices or a questionnaire to
I mean,
the
I
residents
think,
on
I
the
think,
street?
I think since
ask
we
them?
have some time, I would prefer that you at least give the residents a heads up that this is being considered. And, you know, I mean, it sounds like that, at least what Hobie has said, that, you know, that they probably will be in favor of this, but, you know, I still think it's prudent to make sure everybody else is comfortable with it as well. So,
Okay. I'll get letters out to the residents this week and just also advising them what that little machine is that I put on the side of the road so they're not questioning what that is. And then, you know, that way if they want any comments, I'll have them send them into Barbara's office so that, you know, we can report back to what the residents' comments are also.
okay, great. All right.
Okay, is that's a motion then to table this to a future meeting?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think we should put it under unfinished business.
Okay. And a second,
Second,
Mr. Barr,
yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
I think Mr. Corson has left the meeting. He was there for the you know, the new business 9, but for whatever reason, I don't see him on the screen anymore.
Yeah. He was having trouble earlier, so.
Well,
Okay,
so you'll have to put that he was absent for this vote.
Okay.
On this matter.
Yeah.
okay,
He
Mr.
was there
Young.
on the last matter.
Right.
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Perhaps someone could text him to find out what's going on, whether we should hold the progress of the meeting until he joins us again.
All right, I'm sending him a text now.
Yeah, I don't see him.
I'm on the phone with Curtis getting him on a second line.
Okay, great. Thanks. I just asked if he was all right.
He should be coming in now.
I'm assuming caller number 6 is Curtis.
Yes, I'm back. My computer is stuck and frozen and it's about to become a piece of history.
Okay. We had a motion, Curtis, to table the request for a speed hump to a future agenda after Paul conducts the speed study and we send letters out to the adjoining residents. So I'm just calling the vote on that.
Okay.
Is that
So,
a yes?
yes,
The
table.
table, okay. Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo,
Yes.
motion is carried.
This conference will now be recorded.
Uh-oh.
There we
Okay.
go.
I don't know what happened there, but
I'm
Okay.
back. I'm sorry.
okay. All right, item number 11, we're ready to move on. Under unfinished business, request to purchase township-owned property, block 322, lot 40.
I'd like to give you a little background on this. This request to purchase was addressed by the Township Committee over a year ago, and it was sent in a normal process to get an appraisal. The landowner was not happy with the appraisal at that time, so did not proceed. He has now come back and reinitiated his request. I suggest that a new appraisal be obtained because it's been over a year and 4 or 5 months. So I think you received the information from the original request, and it is a standard adjacent parcel purchase. While it's a larger parcel than we usually deal with that the township owns, it would be of the same, on the same conditions, that it must be merged with the adjoining parcel, and it can't be used to develop an additional single-family home. My understanding is the purpose, Paul, you probably know this better than I do, the purpose of the request is the applicant wants to build a garage, an outbuilding, and he needs more land.
Right. Yeah, correct. The existing home where he lives is a severely undersized lot. And so this would obviously, it actually won't make him a conforming lot, but it'll make him probably have half the requirement of the lot area. So it would allow him to build his garage and have a little more space for his property.
Dan, I'm going to step down from this one.
Okay.
So would it be appropriate to make a motion to move forward contingent upon the new appraisal, or would you rather us wait till we get the new appraisal?
No, I think we go forward. He has to pay the new appraisal. He puts an escrow up. I would suggest that we use the current appraiser, not the prior appraiser, to go out and update his appraisal. The current appraiser, as you know, is I believe it's Mr. Belasco, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Correct.
And if you want to go forward, I would just do the normal motion that that it moves forward under a standard procedure. We have to get an appraisal so we can set the bid price. We don't bring the ordinance to you to adopt it until after the appraisal comes in and the owner says, yes, I agree to that minimum bid price. Now, I believe there are adjacent people that might bid on this, that the adjacent private owner, Paul?
Yes, there are 3 other.
And the condition would be that it can't be used for additional development other than the ancillary to the current adjacently developed parcel. And also, Paul, it is smaller than needed for a residential building in that area, right? Correct?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Those are the standard conditions that we have when we sell adjacent lots to property owners. So I would move that we move forward and with an escrow from the property owner, get a new appraisal. I would suggest you make that motion.
Motion to move forward dependent upon the new appraisal.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Abstain.
abstain, and Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried with 4 in favor and 1 abstention.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion to pay the bills?
I hereby move that all claims submitted for payment at this meeting be approved and then incorporated in the full minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried.
There are no municipal reports from the departments, so we'll pass that. And so at this time, we are at the public comment portion of the meeting. Again, if anyone would like to address the Township Committee, now's the time to do so. Please acknowledge yourself, state your name, your address, and your reason for addressing the Township Committee. And we've gotten a little better with trying to have people, join the call. So, whoever would like to go first, please do so, and we can move from there. So I'm just double checking if there's anyone that potentially is on mute that would like to address the Township Committee.
Yes, Mayor, it's Linda Bateman, 14 East Tecumseh, Strathmere. I just have a quick question for the Township Committee. We are in the process of dealing with a proposal by the Deauville to the department, to the DEP. Just want to make sure that the committeemen are aware that this calls for 39 transient jet ski slips and 31 boat slips. Understandably, the neighbors within 200 feet who were notified are quite upset at the thoughts of all that this will bring. And we realize that this is a DEP plan, but we just want to understand, or to at least convey the thought that this really is going to bring a lot more traffic and congestion once the dredging is completed up there, and all the other trickle-down effects as to the disruption that this will cause,
Right.
noise, public safety.
Could I interrupt for a moment? Mr. Corson apparently was kicked offline again. So I think Paul's trying to have him online. So if we could pause just for a minute, I would like to address Ms. Bateman's comments because there's a little more information from the township's point of view since the last meeting.
He's coming on now.
I'm sorry.
Come on,
With us, Curtis? Curtis, are you with us now?
I'm with us.
Okay.
Okay. May I respond, Ms. Bateman?
Yes, please, Dan, because
All right.
I know that we've looked at this from,
Well, we haven't
whether
finished
site
looking
plan
at
approval
what happened after the last meeting. We looked at and I think I may have mentioned this, we looked at the ordinance to see if there was any regulatory requirement from the township point of view. There is a possibility that there could be. We haven't determined that yet. However, the property owner has been made aware through their solicitor and their professionals that the township is questioning whether or not municipal approvals are also required. And my understanding, the property owner is going to review the prior approvals and address any changes as to whether or not they are consistent with the prior approvals. My limited understanding at this point is that they were approved for a number of boat slips that, because of the accretion, disappeared. That at one time they had additional boat slips based upon a limited review of our prior approvals. But that is still in the process of being reviewed, and we expect to have an answer as to whether there's any municipal involvement. Generally speaking, if they are consistent with their site plan approvals previously with the township, and the new proposal does not require township authorization, such as it's really just a reconfiguration of the waterway docks and slips, and it's not an additional item that would trigger a site plan review or variance situation from the township, it would be just the DEP that is you should address your questions to. But I just want to make clear that it's an open question at this point, which we hope to get resolved in the near future as to whether or not there's any municipal review that's required.
Thank you. And a quick follow-up, is it your understanding that this is to be designated as a marina? Is there a difference in that designation? Do you know?
I'm not sure. Do you direct that question to me or to Paul?
Yes, to you, Mr. Young.
I haven't looked at their approvals. I've been told that they actually were approved for a marina years ago, and I don't know whether that's changed or not. That's part of the review the municipality is looking at.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the township committee? Now's the time to do so.
Oh, I did want to say, I did receive my ballot today, and it was my understanding that the county can't begin counting them until election day, and those will be the ones that are turned in advance. And I did check, and it is an Upper Township ballot.
Just for the record, that's Linda Bateman speaking.
Yeah, and Barbara, I know that you can confirm that that's the case, but
Yes.
you're the clerk, and please, you have a lot more information than we do.
That is correct. The ballots will be posted and counted on election day. They will start submitting the count of the ballots. The county will, County Board of Elections.
Okay. All right. Anyone else like to address the Township Committee?
Yes, I'm a representative of Pine Hill Mobile Home Court.
Okay, but you're going to
And,
have to state,
name?
hold on a second. We're going to need your name. If you
Diane
would.
Jenkins.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Okay.
You're going to have to speak up, please.
Yeah, we're having a little hard hearing you. So can you state your name again, please?
Diane Jenkins. Is that better?
So I got Diane, but I'm not getting the last name. What?
Jenkins?
Just Jenkins? Okay.
Jenkins.
Okay,
yes.
great. Thank you.
You're welcome. I sent a letter in to the mayor and also email that we were told to do. I am a resident of Pine Hill Mobile Home Park, and we have investigated that Middle Township has a rent control, and since we have new management since 2018, our rent has gone up approximately almost $100, 90 from January, and a lot of us are on Social Security. We have a set income, and we'd like to know if to investigate and do a study on rent control and see what we can do for seniors in our Upper Township here.
And I did receive your email, and it was forwarded to Mr. Young, our attorney, for his input, to see what criteria is needed for a rent control, and is it specific to certain locations? Because we do have a number of properties in Upper Township that are seasonal rental properties, or even weekly rentals in some cases, and we're not. I wanted to rely on Dan, Dan Young, our municipal attorney, to opine on where we go from here.
If I may, we did look at this a number of years ago. It requires, in order to have an enforceable rent control ordinance, a study is required, a professional study that indicates the need for one in terms of scarcity of rental property and rising rents do that. I don't know if it's in the budget at this point to do it, but my suggestion to the Township Committee, if you wanted to review this issue, you're going to need a rental study. You're going to have to hire a professional.
We're going to have to do what? I didn't understand.
You're going to need a rental study, a study being done throughout the township that reviews rent increases, scarcity of rentals, and the need for a rent control ordinance. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a valid basis to adopt the ordinance. That needs to be done, and that obviously requires hiring a professional to do it.
Okay, so what would be our next step?
So our next step is, based on what Mr. Young just said, is we probably don't have anything budgeted to bring in an expert, as Dan has suggested, and it may have to wait till January, or actually more closer to March when we do our budget, to be able to bring that expert in. But it is certainly something that we would certainly, I think, would at least look at. I mean, obviously, there's a number of mobile parks in the township, and that there are other individuals beside yourself that I'm sure are on fixed incomes, and we certainly want to do what we can to help facilitate your ability to stay there and enjoy Upper Township. So
right.
I'm not sure that we can give you an exact answer yet, because of budgetary constraints at this point. We are unfortunately running a tight budget as it is because of a lot of the issues that were associated with COVID-19, and I hate to keep blaming that for this, but we really have had that, along with a number of storms and cleanup and everything, has kind of tightened our budget quite a bit. So we're really finding it difficult to do anything expanded beyond what's already been budgeted, at least at this point.
right. I think everybody's on a budget, including people in our park, so I can understand where you're standing at. So, well, what we can do is just put forward and in your minds, and hopefully you can do something for us. We would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Would anybody else like to address the township?
Still there?
You're still there, Curtis. Is there anybody else that would like to, if you're on mute, maybe you need to unmute. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody before I close the public portion. Okay, it appears that there's no other comments from the public. Thank you to those that did address the Township Committee. We appreciate the input. But at this time, I will close the public portion of the meeting and entertain a motion to go to executive session by Committeeman Coggins.
I hereby move that a resolution be incorporated into the minutes authorizing the Township Committee to enter into an executive session for the following matters pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. The matters are contract negotiation with Cape May County Shared Services Agreement for solid waste disposal and recycling services. For Cape May County Shared Services for special events. For Cape May County Shared Services for OEM equipment. With Vincent Morrison for temporary judge. Safety and Security, the EMS Lifeline Program. Safety and Security for elections and personnel. I also include in my motion the estimated time and the circumstances under which the discussion in closed session can be disclosed to the public as follows. It is anticipated that the matters discussed in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon the determination of the Township Committee that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. With respect to employment and personnel matters, such discussions will be made public if and when formal action is taken or when the individuals involved consent that it can be made public. With respect to contract negotiations, such matters will be made public when negotiations have ceased and there is no longer a reason for confidentiality.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion
And,
is
and for
carried.
those of you that are on the call, this line will stay open in the event that the Township Committee goes back to open session and does any motions. You'll be available to be able to hear that discussion and that vote. But it'll remain open. The Township Committee and our staff will move to a different call or Zoom call, and we'll be back when we finish with the executive session.
Just to clarify, we definitely will be back. It's not if we want to do any action. We definitely will be back, even if we're not going to take any action to close the regular meeting.
Okay.
And
Okay,
committee
and for those that are leaving,
reminder.
thank you and have a great week, everyone.
Committee reminder that it's a different link for closed session this evening.
Right, you sent it out earlier. Yep, okay.
Yes.
I'll be calling in.
Hello?
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 I'm here.
Hi.
I hear you.
Hello?
I think we're all here.
All right, here we go. Camera's missing again.
That's okay, as long as we can hear you.
Up, there we go.
All right. Would someone like to make a motion to go out of executive session into open session?
So moved.
Second,
All right, which call the roll?
Mr. Barr,
yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo,
Yes.
motion's carried.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn from open session.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Meeting's adjourned.
Hey,
All right.
meeting
Good
adjourned.
night,
9:20
everybody.
p.m.
Have a good
Good
night.
night, everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.
All right, don't forget, you
Thank
got to
you.
sign papers, when you have a chance